But I'm telling you right now that it is real, that it is painful, it is brutal. And I'm standing here before you, willing to take the hate, willing to take all the negative messages and tell you that I beg you to wake up, to speak out, and to not fall for this lie.
The second this leak hit the internet, the whole Charlie Kirk situation flipped like someone smashed a light switch in a pitch-black room. People weren't just whispering about tension anymore, they were staring at what felt like a completely different story unfolding right in front of them. Screenshots, shaky voice notes, private chats, everything dropped online like a digital trail that made everyone say, "Wait, what is going on here?" If even half of these leaks were real, this wasn't just behind-the-scenes stress. It pointed to something much deeper. Suddenly it looked like Erika Kirk and a few high-ranking people at Turning Point USA had been holding back way more than they ever said out loud. And once folks started digging, the whole situation felt like a puzzle with missing pieces scattered everywhere. The craziest part? This didn't come from some outsider chasing attention, this bomb dropped from inside the circle. It came straight from the wife of the guy right in the middle of all the chaos, the same woman who calmly answered her phone seconds before everything went sideways. After that leak, every clip people thought they understood suddenly looked different, almost like everyone had been watching the wrong version of the story the whole time. Even Erika's speeches started sounding different. Those polite thank you lines, the cautious wording, the carefully chosen phrases suddenly felt heavier, like there was more underneath than anyone realized.
Hello everyone, my name is Micky McCoy. I had the unique honor, blessing, and privilege of a lifetime to not only call Charlie a precious friend, mentor, but to travel with him literally everywhere.
Suddenly her words felt tight, like a whole layer of tension was hiding underneath. Because when your husband's chief of staff is acting off balance on camera, and then you turn around and start dropping private receipts, something behind the curtain is clearly not adding up. And nobody wants to say it out loud. Let's keep it real, the internet didn't just randomly wake up and decide TPUSA was acting strange. This whole mess exploded because of one late-night post from a mysterious account. No intro. No explanation. Just screenshots and one voice memo thrown into the world with a cold caption, "Erika Kirk knew." For tiny words, but enough to blow the situation wide open. Within minutes, the screenshots were everywhere. Inside the leak were timestamps, security notes, and what people claimed was a message from Micky McCoy himself. Suddenly everyone was asking the same question: what exactly did Erika know, and what was she preparing for? Then came the voice memo, a woman's voice shaking like she'd been holding this in for way too long. "I can't stay quiet anymore. This wasn't an accident," she said, and the internet lost it. Some swore it was Micky's wife. Others thought it was a close friend trying to protect her.
Find out Charlie had been shot.
I was at my mom's doctor's appointment, put my phone down, and it was on silent, so I had no reason to look back at it. But I moved my mom, I went back to grab my phone, and that's when Micky started calling me. Told me within seconds.
Whoever she was, she sounded scared, like she knew too much and didn't know who she could trust. But then came the detail that snapped everything backward. The leaked timestamps lined up perfectly with that infamous video where Micky lifted his phone seconds before the moment everything went wrong. Before, people brushed it off. But now, it looked suspicious in a way nobody could ignore. Reddit threads exploded. TikTok analysts broke the moment down frame by frame. Twitter turned into a giant detective board. Everyone kept circling the same question: what did Erika and the Turning Point USA crew really know that no one else knew? Because if even a slice of this leak is legit, then nothing about that day was random. Too many people were way too calm for something that big. Once the internet caught that vibe, everyone turned into overnight investigators. This wasn't just a messy moment anymore, it started looking like something that had been cooking long before the cameras even showed up. The way these leaks hit the timeline had people questioning everything, because suddenly this didn't feel like simple drama. It felt like the outline of a setup, one that might have been unfolding long before anyone realized.
She said that Micky called her within seconds, which does line up with this clip of Micky McCoy, Charlie Kirk's chief of staff, picking up the phone as soon as Charlie was shot. We talked about this a couple weeks ago and about how bizarre and weird it was, his reaction, not running, not jumping to Charlie's aid, but instead making an immediate phone call, kind of like he knew that things were about to go down. Saying he did, but that's what it looked like. And this led to the TPUSA folks responding, saying, no, Micky was actually not on the phone.
They're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not.
And once people saw what was allegedly inside those private messages, the internet switched into full detective mode instantly. According to the screenshots going viral, the chat showed a private group thread between Micky McCoy, a few TPUSA staffers, and someone tagged as Zeke, believed to be Erika Kirk. The messages were short but sharp enough to freeze anyone. Everything is ready. Stay calm. We've rehearsed this. Make sure the cameras are still running. Erika already knows. Those 4 words, Erika already knows, became the internet's new nightmare phrase. Because if that message is real, it flips the whole storyline upside down. Suddenly this didn't look like chaos. It looked like choreography. And the deeper people dug, the uglier it got. The timestamps in the leak were from just hours before the event. And right around that same moment, Micky McCoy's wife posted a cryptic Instagram story. The truth always finds its way out. She deleted it minutes later, but the damage was already done. That tiny post turned the internet into a wildfire. Within a single day, creators across TikTok, YouTube, and X were reposting the screenshots with captions like, "Did TPUSA set this up?"
He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while it was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. We were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I, but this is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud and he was so shell-shocked, he put his fingers in his ear, but his was still in his hand.
Was Charlie Kirk betrayed by his own circle? The story exploded everywhere. Suddenly people were re-watching every second of the event. Every quiet pause in Erika's speech looked rehearsed. Every breath sounded calculated. And then the leaks got even darker, because they didn't just show messages, they hinted at a whole plan. Like multiple people were moving as one, keeping the same silence, following the same script. Just when the internet thought the saga couldn't spin any harder, the clip that shattered everything dropped like a hammer. You've definitely seen it, that slow-motion footage inside the Turning Point USA tent. Charlie is speaking to the crowd. It's quiet. And right behind him stands Micky McCoy, cool as ice. Then it hits. Micky lifts his phone, slides it to his ear, turns away from Charlie, and walks clean out of frame. No panic. No shock. No hesitation. The whole move looked way too smooth, like he wasn't reacting. Like he was expecting it. Those 2 seconds turned the entire internet into detectives overnight. TikTok creators zoomed in so close you could see the shadow on his cheekbone. Reddit slowed the clip to 0.25 speed to analyze micro movements. Threads on X turned into full case files. Then a second angle dropped, showing Micky stepping away seconds before everything went sideways. People said this was no coincidence, this looked like timing. Real timing. Almost too perfect. Then someone paused the clip at the 6-second mark.
Okay, so now we have 2 different sides of the story. Erika says that Micky called her within seconds, but Andrew Colvett here says that Micky was not on his phone, but rather just putting his hands up to cover his ears from the loud noise. Some may see this as a small detail, a potential small lie, but what I'll say to that is people who tell small lies also tend to tell bigger lies at some point. So Micky, we're going to want to see that call.
And the internet froze. Micky's lips were moving like he was already speaking into the phone, but there was no ringtone, no vibration, no sign of an incoming call at all. It looked like the call was active before he even raised the phone. That tiny detail hit like a punch. So when the leak said Erika knew, and the footage showed Micky already in conversation seconds before the incident, folks couldn't shrug it off anymore. The whole thing felt like an eerie loop the internet couldn't stop replaying. Everywhere you looked, people were asking the same question: was Micky reporting something or signaling that the moment had arrived? A few days later, while the public was still trying to process everything, Erika Kirk finally stepped on stage for the first time. The lights hit her. The whole room went silent. She gave this emotional tribute to her husband, but the part that sent social media into suspicion overload wasn't the emotion. It was the name she kept dropping. "I want to thank the board of directors of Turning Point USA, and my husband's amazing chief of staff, Micky McCoy." That line exploded online like a fire alarm. After everything people had just seen, hearing Micky's name repeated like that hit way too hard. Erika said his name again, louder this time. And instantly, TikTok, Reddit, and X went into meltdown mode. People couldn't believe she was spotlighting him so boldly.
Yeah, when the clip was brought to my attention, I obviously have a file, a big folder of files of every angle, and I decided to track Micky from every angle available to see, like, maybe we just missed it, and he did at some point put that phone down, dial a number, speed dial, hold down one, I don't know. Maybe we missed it. Because that seems automatic, right? 0.834, that seems pretty quick.
The same man who quietly slipped out seconds before everything went wrong. The same man whose wife was rumored to have leaked the receipts that sparked this entire blaze. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. Creators stitched it, slowed it down, and reposted it with captions like, "This feels rehearsed." Reddit threads filled with comments saying Erika's tone sounded polished, like she recited every word in front of a mirror. What should have been a heartfelt tribute suddenly looked like another suspicious chapter in an already messy story. Even body language analysts jumped in. They pointed out how a tiny smile flickered across Erika's face each time she said Micky's name, followed by a quick downward glance, almost like she was waiting for some invisible cue. But what pushed things into full chaos was the timing. The alleged leaks from Micky McCoy's wife had taken over every platform that same week, making Erika's praise feel less like kindness and more like damage control. Almost like she was trying to steady the narrative before Micky got grilled by the internet. From that moment on, a new question spread everywhere. Was her thank you genuine or a subtle shield for the man already getting cooked online? Suspicion grew louder and the story spiraled even faster. Then Micky's father, Pastor Rob McCoy, stepped in to defend his son. He said Micky was right there with Charlie, helping him through the chaos, guiding him, supporting him. His voice was emotional, heartfelt, but the footage didn't match a single detail.
No, he doesn't do that. We even have him in front of Charlie's car. When Charlie is brought to the car, the waiting car rather, he is still on the phone. I can show you the clip of that. Take a look at this. Don't worry, we'll slow it down for you. See him in the background with the backpack. Let's go back a little earlier in the footage and see if we can find when he actually maybe dials onto the phone. Maybe we can see him pick up the phone and begin a call before the shot takes off.
Not one detail in the video aligned. Micky doesn't help Charlie. He doesn't move toward him. He doesn't even look shaken. He just lifts the phone, turns his back, and walks behind the tent like it's a normal day. That contradiction shook everyone. And then Erika added her own version. She told the New York Times that Micky called her seconds after everything happened, saying he was in trouble and needed help. But again, the timeline didn't line up. The leaked screenshot suggested Micky's call was already connected before anything started. As people compared each version side by side, the whole situation turned into a maze. Rob McCoy said Micky called him first. Erika said she was the first one he reached out to. The leaked receipts suggested a pre-connected group call. None of these timelines matched, and none of them matched the video. Both Rob and Erika believed they were the first to get the call, but that couldn't be true. Someone was mistaken, or someone wasn't telling the full story. Then Turning Point USA rushed out a statement overnight. Their spokesperson praised Micky as a hero, saying he stayed strong under pressure. But the statement avoided every contradiction, every missing detail, and every timeline issue the internet had been replaying all week. Not one question got addressed. Instead of calming the situation, TPU's vague praise made everything look even sketchier. Every explanation sounded rehearsed. Every correction made the mess even worse.
Call, if we're following the subject, that would mean he puts his phone down until Charlie gets shot. And we were able to find what we think could be that moment. And I can tell you that it is 1 minute and 45 seconds approximately before that shot goes off. And we can watch that here. You see Micky's on his phone here, and you're going to see he pulls it up and he starts to cover his ear again. Now, that could be unrelated. Again, we're taking a guess here. That's what made the most sense to us because we couldn't justify it in any other way. And I want to be clear, we're not here to make assumptions, okay?
Every new detail clashed with the footage the public had already dissected 1,000 times. At this point, people weren't asking if there was a cover-up anymore. They were asking how many people were involved and why every new statement sounded like a script rewritten 10 times to match whatever the internet hadn't caught yet. The contradictions stacked up so fast the entire situation felt unstable. The viral clip, the clashing stories, and the strange silence from everyone involved created a pressure so intense you could practically feel it through the screen. Once the public realized how twisted the timelines were, the outrage exploded to levels TPUSA clearly wasn't prepared for. That's when the organization snapped into full crisis mode, the exact reaction big corporations have when they sense the narrative slipping out of their hands. Behind closed doors, insiders said the PR team got one order: take the narrative back fast. And almost instantly, the media was flooded with flawless, polished articles. No confusion, no hesitation, no tough questions. Each one pushed the same message: Micky McCoy wasn't just there. He was a hero. The write-ups all used the same buzzwords: faith, loyalty, strength under pressure. They painted Micky as the calm one in the middle of chaos, the steady presence, the protector. But none of these articles mentioned the phone footage. Not one touched the strange timeline. Not a single one addressed the questions the entire internet was screaming about. Then came the tribute videos, and these were next-level dramatic. Flashy lights, soft music, photos of Charlie and Micky together, slow-motion clips of them on stage. It felt like a full production designed to push one idea. Micky is noble. Micky is strong. Micky is reliable. Micky is misunderstood. But the public wasn't buying any of it. Something felt off. The timing was too clean. The tone too controlled. The message too uniform. It all felt like a distraction from the one question nobody could shake: what actually happened? When people still weren't convinced, TPUSA pushed even harder. 1 week after the leaks, who walks on stage delivering a major speech at Liberty University? Micky himself. He talked about Charlie's vision, his legacy, his belief in faith and community. The whole speech played out like a perfectly polished broadcast. No shaking voice. No nerves. No slip-ups. And definitely no mention of the phone, the timeline, or the leaks. It was so smooth that creators immediately said it looked like a staged rehearsal, not a memorial. Then everything took its darkest turn yet. Right after that speech, Micky McCoy's wife suddenly vanished from the internet. Her accounts gone. Her posts erased.
And we wouldn't have to make any assumptions if Turning Point USA could just tell the truth. They could just be open and they could be honest about everything. Okay, I obviously went out to both Micky McCoy and Andrew Colbert for a statement. Asked those two questions. Hey, who were you on the phone with? What's going on here? No response. Weird. Because if that was me and I saw clips going viral and people were drawing conclusions from that clip, thinking that I'm already on the phone, thinking that my reaction was weird, I would instantly back.
Wiped clean. Comments locked. Friends' pages restricted. It was like she disappeared overnight. Rumors exploded instantly. Some said TPUSA lawyers told her to delete everything. Others whispered she was being pressured to stay quiet. Some claimed she was scared of something bigger. But everyone agreed on one thing: the timing was way too perfect to be random. Insiders whispered that NDAs were being rewritten and tightened. Staff members were allegedly warned not to post anything, not even harmless jokes. Slack channels that were usually full of memes, chatter, and updates suddenly went dead silent, like the entire building was holding its breath. It didn't feel like a group clearing up confusion. It felt like a group trying to lock the lid on something boiling over. And that's when public suspicion turned into full-blown certainty. Because the more TPUSA tried to convince everyone nothing was wrong, the more obvious it became that something wasn't adding up. The impact of the leaks hit even harder once people realized who they came from. Micky McCoy's wife, the one person who knew his habits, his stress, his private moments. The one person who saw the version of him the public never could. Her messages didn't sound like gossip. They didn't sound like revenge. They sounded like someone who had been holding a heavy truth for way too long. Someone trying to stop carrying guilt or fear. Someone at their breaking point. Lines like they knew. I wish I'd said something sooner. Those didn't sound like attention-seeking. They sounded like a desperate release, like someone finally telling a truth that wouldn't stay buried, and once people accepted that, the entire story changed. Because if she was even halfway right, then Charlie Kirk may have been surrounded by people preparing for something long before that day on stage. After that idea hit the timeline, every tribute, every speech, every carefully phrased thank you suddenly looked different. It all felt less like grief, and more like a heavy-duty PR shield. Then things escalated again. TPUSA's
find
top
out
executives
Charlie had
started
been
flooding
shot.
the internet with
Was
tributes,
at my
emotional
mom's doctor's
speeches,
appointment, put
interviews,
my phone down,
podcasts, dramatic
and it
videos,
was
all
on
carrying the
silent,
same
so I had no
soft,
reason to look
protective
back at
tone
it.
when
I
speaking
moved my
about
mom.
Mikey.
I went back to grab my phone.
His face was
and that's when
everywhere,
Mikey started
banners,
calling me.
thumbnails,
Within
interviews,
seconds.
articles. It became a media wave pushing one idea on repeat. Mikey is good. Mikey is strong. Mikey is supported. Mikey is safe. But the public didn't feel comforted. They felt uneasy. Because when an organization repeats someone's name with that much force, it doesn't always signal love. Sometimes it signals fear. Meanwhile, Mikey chose silence. No interviews, no explanations, no clarifications, just a handful of neat lines about faith, purpose, and forgiveness. Nothing personal. Nothing emotional. Nothing real. And here's the part that had the whole internet uneasy: when people are truly innocent, they usually stand up loud and proud. They show proof. They drop screenshots. They call out lies directly. They fight to clear their name like everything depends on it.
I'd say, here's my call log. You wanna know who I was on the phone with? 911, obviously. I was freaking out. I called 911. I didn't know what I was doing. Here's my phone. Here's my whole call log for that day. Listen, I don't know. I guess we live in a world where that doesn't make sense. I would have issued a statement to dispel any rumors, but they have not. Here's what I want to say, and I honestly, I understand I'm preaching to the choir here. Everything about this is wrong. You know it, and I know it. I actually know it better than most because I helped build that organization.
But in this situation, everything flipped the other way. No legal action. No direct statements. No public pushback. No cracks in the PR machine. Just silence, clean, polished, controlled silence that felt way too intentional. And that's exactly why the internet refuses to let this story fade. It doesn't feel like gossip anymore. It feels organized. Managed. Locked down behind the scenes like a carefully rehearsed play. The pattern looked familiar to everyone watching: deny, distract, rewrite, stay silent. And when people rewatched the event with the leaks in mind, suddenly every tiny detail looked suspicious. The side glances. The placements. The timing of who walked where. The pauses in speeches. Even the exact moment certain names were repeated over and over. It didn't feel natural. It felt rehearsed. A script built to protect the same man whose wife allegedly broke ranks and exposed everything. But the part that haunted people most wasn't the leaks or the footage. It was the human layer. Because when you rewatch all the clips, the smiles on stage, the hugs, the thank yous, the warm gestures, a chilling question creeps in. Were they honoring a tragedy, or trying to keep something from surfacing? And every time someone repeated "Micky McCoy is amazing," it stopped sounding like a compliment. It started sounding like a line someone told them to repeat, a line repeated so many times it lost all feeling. Then there's Mikey's wife, the one person who didn't stick to the script. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she simply couldn't pretend anymore. But whatever pushed her, she broke away from the polished storyline. And the moment she did, the whole illusion cracked open. Because illusions don't survive truth. They crumble the second the real story slips out. So what's left on the table now? Confusion. Clashing timelines. A missing voice. An organization refusing to speak. A video the public can't unsee. And millions of people who won't move on without answers. Because truth doesn't disappear, it hides. It hides in the pauses between sentences, in the gaps between stories, in the places nobody wants to explain. It sits quietly until someone brave enough drags it into the light. And the real lesson here? In a world full of perfect images, perfect speeches, perfect tributes, silence isn't calm. Silence is strategy. So next time a story looks too clean, too shiny, too perfectly arranged, remember this one. Because behind the bright lights and polished statements, someone always knows the real truth. And eventually, that truth forces its way out. Thank you for reading to the end. If you're into deep dives, raw breakdowns, and real conversations, make sure to like, subscribe, share this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice helps uncover the next piece of the puzzle.